This is your host, Swapnil Bhartia, and welcome to TFR Let's Talk. Loft Labs has raised 4.6 million seed funding to scale up self-service access to Kubernetes for engineering teams. To learn more about this seed funding and how the company is going to invest or use these resources, we have with us once again, Lukas Gentele, CEO of Loft Lab. Lukas, it's great to have you back on the show.
Hey, Swapnil. It's great to be back with you.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations. Tell us a bit about who led the round and who else participated.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's definitely a very exciting time. Fusion Fund is our lead investor. We also have RTP Seed Fund on board, as well as Emergent Ventures. We also had participation from Abby Kearns as an angel investor, as well as Berkeley Skydeck Fund, which is UC Berkeley's accelerator program that we went through in the very inception of the company. So they also doubled down on us in this round.
Excellent. Now, if I'm not wrong, Fusion Fund initially invested 2.6 million, just few months ago, and now they are expanding. Since I have been covering Loft, so I do see the growth, but I want to hear from you. What did they see that they made this move?
Yeah, essentially, Fusion led around in us a couple months back. And RTP Seed and Emergent participated in that round as well. And then a couple months later, we had the first board meeting and, went over the customer pipeline and the customers that we've already converted. And there were some, quite impressive logos, essentially, on those slides. So all three investors were pretty excited after that meeting, and then essentially approached us with the idea to double down on us, to accelerate that growth, to build out the team faster, and to essentially add additional funding. After we had just closed the seed round, which was obviously a huge compliment, to our team and to what we've been building in the past couple of months.
And if you look at cloud native or Kubernetes space, the crowded space, so getting all those logos is a big challenge, it's a daunting task. So can you talk about what sets Loft apart? There's one thing that I do want to stress and talk a bit about is that we talk about cloud, but we don't talk much about cloud-based. The cost goes into resources that a lot of people don't use because everybody provision everything. So Loft has something called sleep mode as well. So I want to also talk about some of the unique features that Loft offers so that it also helps getting all those logos on your site as well.
Yeah, sleep mode is definitely a great feature to sell into the enterprise with, because it is so obvious that it just saves you a lot of money that you otherwise would spend on wasted resources in your Kubernetes clusters. What sleep mode does, essentially, it detects idle resources in your Kubernetes clusters and it turns them off. So let's just imagine most of the workloads that we're currently targeting are pre-production. So engineers testing something, evaluating new machine learning algorithms, right? But engineers, just like anybody else, have to sleep sometime, right? So if they leave work, if they stop working at 6 p.m. In the evening and don't work till 8 a.m. in the morning, sleep mode essentially detects that and purges these workloads and puts them to sleep. And when the engineer starts in the morning again, everything spins up automatically again. So the engineer doesn't have to do anything, and the company typically saves about 70 to 80% of infrastructure cost for these, development pre-production workloads, which is obviously very, very exciting.
In addition to sleep mode, is there anything else, any feature or any capabilities that sets Loft apart from its competitors that you would want to talk about?
I mean, it's definitely virtual clusters as well. We're the only provider that really has an enterprise-grade solution for virtualizing Kubernetes at this point. And, we shipped vCluster as an open source project and kind of carved it out of our enterprise offering and made it a certified Kubernetes distribution just very recently. And I think that success with virtual Kubernetes clusters drives a lot of attention in the space as well, because that solves a lot of the multi-tenancy challenges and self-service challenges while still, making sure in combination with sleep mode that costs aren't going to explode if you enable self-service for your engineers when you go from 50 users to 500 or even 5,000 engineers now working with Kubernetes. And companies can gain these velocity benefits and that shift left movement, enabling really developers to work with Kubernetes at a fraction of the cost with a great user experience using these virtual clusters and sleep mode in combination.
Now, if we go back to the funding, what are the areas where you will be, once again, investing resources? What are the areas that you would want to grow within the company?
We're a very small team at this point, and we're very, very lean. So we're definitely going to heavily invest in the team. Building out the engineering team is super important for a company like ours that is, essentially based on innovation in the space. But we're also going to invest in classical business functions. We're going to bring in people with excellent knowledge about marketing in the enterprise and developer space. We're going to heavily invest in developer relations as well. And it's really about building out a rock star team to get to the next level with this company.
So when you say next level of the company, what is the next level according to you? What vision you have for the company?
Yeah, we essentially want to be the leader in Kubernetes multi-tenancy and self-service. I think that's really at heart the two topics that we care about most. And we want to be present in pretty much every conversation around Kubernetes multi-tenancy and self-service. And we're pretty well equipped with the open source projects that we already have out there. But there are so many challenging problems in that space. And we have such a long roadmap of things that we want to build and, things that we see from the customer side that need addressing, where we don't even, have a clear picture of what the, solution could look like. And there's just a lot of work to do in both of these areas. And we're super excited to address that.
If we just look at the Kubernetes space, it has been evolving, it has matured, everything is running in production. If you just look at Kubernetes, what kind of future you see for Kubernetes itself? It has matured, but it has its own set of challenges as well. Complexity is a big challenge in itself. So what are the areas that you feel the Kubernetes community or ecosystem will be moving and you will be aligned with that movement?
I think Kubernetes has matured a lot in terms of, standardizing things, not just around containers, but pretty much how do you provision workloads? I mean, we see really interesting projects that hook directly into the cloud providers for, provisioning external cloud provider services. I think all of these things really show that Kubernetes is much broader than just a Kubernetes, than a container orchestrator, right? Kubernetes will essentially be the API for compute, and there are so many areas that Kubernetes hasn't even touched. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kubernetes on our phones in a couple of years, right? And with the trend to use Kubernetes in the 5G space and bringing Kubernetes to space, right? We've already seen really interesting experiments in that direction to have like an ubiquitous standard for addressing compute in Kubernetes as that API. And I think that's really exciting. And I think one area that is exciting as well is adopting Kubernetes as an API framework. Our product itself does not have a proprietary API. It essentially uses the Kubernetes API. So when you manage our product, you manage it with kubectl effectively. I mean, obviously we have a CLI and a UI on top of that make it a little bit easier than actually having to run the kubectl commands and pushing around YAML. But under the hood, that's essentially what we're doing. And there are a lot of applications where these really well thought out API decisions in Kubernetes can be used in other areas as well.
Lukas, thank you so much for taking time out today and talk about, of course, this new seed funding and the growth areas, the problem that you're trying to solve for the ecosystem, and sharing your insight into where Kubernetes itself is heading. So thanks for those insights. And as usual, I would love to have you back on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swapnil. It's always fun chatting with you about these topics, especially if it's great news like the one we have to announce today.